A small group of local businesses along the Garden Route in the Western Cape are taking government to court over the closure of beaches in the district. Let's now speak to their lawyer, Daniel Eloff. Very good morning, Daniel. First of all, what is the basis of your application and who are some of the applicants?
Good morning. So the applicants who we're taking this matter to court with is firstly the Great Bruck River Business Forum, then Mr. Louis Cook, who's a guest house owner in Mossel Bay, and he's also the chairperson of the Guest House Guild in the Mossel Bay area. And then the third applicant and who's supporting the application is AfriForum. The basic 2 points that we're arguing in court is firstly that the decision by the Minister of Cocta is irrational to specifically exclude beaches, and that no real evidence or data is provided why beaches is assumed to be this really dangerous spot for people to attend and why there's a high risk of COVID-19 transmission risk on beaches. So that's the first point. And the second point is we look into the economic impact that the closure of beaches will have on the tourism, travel and accommodation sector in the Garden Route area. We particularly look at the fact that, for example, 40% of accommodation cancellations have already occurred, and this is a mere 2 days after the announcement. And the big problem is beaches are central to tourism in that area, and there's a very strong seasonality to the income of these organizations or these businesses and companies. They really do depend on the income that they get during these few weeks to sustain them throughout the year.
So part of your argument, Daniel, is that beaches aren't necessarily, susceptible to high levels of COVID-19 transmission or infection. Elaborate on this for me.
Sure. So we refer to a study by Oxford that was done about 2 weeks ago, where they specifically look at outdoor venues and the risk posed by these outdoor venues to spread transmissions. And they found that there's really a low risk in these type of areas like a beach, for example. So that's the first point. The second point is a beach is a very open, ventilated area. So it's a place where people are already social distance, a place where people are already not in contact with each other, as opposed to, for example, a more crowded space like a shopping center. So the argument is that there are already mechanisms in place to ensure that a beach will be safe for people. We're not saying that, there's no COVID pandemic. There quite obviously is, and it really is raging in parts of the country like the Garden Route and the Sarah Baartman district and in PE. All that we're saying is there needs to be some consistency in how government approaches it, and if they're already. Getting back to my previous point, the mechanisms that are already in place, we already have measures for outdoor gatherings, we already have social distancing, we already have mask wearing, and that a more prudent approach might have been to do a capacity analysis for each beach and then determine how many people can safely be on the beaches, which we believe is a rational and reasonable approach to follow that can ensure both that the lives of the people visiting the Garden Route are protected, but more importantly, that the livelihoods of the business owners in the Garden Route are also looked after.
Daniel, just paint a picture of what the implications and the impact of these beach closures could be on businesses.
Well, I mean, it's tremendous. This year has been extremely tough. Businesses that are already open 8 months into the national state of disaster and the lockdown, are really the tough companies and businesses that have made it this far. And what we're concerned is that this just might be the last straw that breaks the camel's back. They've really gone through the year. They've been almost waiting for the December period so that they can get this boost in income so that they can continue the rest of the year. So it really is important we have a look at some of the data, and anything between 25 and 33% of these businesses in the Garden Route get their income in only these 3 weeks before and after Christmas. It really is a tremendous amount of income that they stand to lose, and beaches are quite important. It's an important tourist attraction in these areas. People don't go to the coast so that they can go visit their lovely malls. They go to the coast so they can visit the coast, the beach. It's a central tourist attraction, and if they're unable to visit the beach, we're seeing people not going to these areas, not going to the Garden Route, or leaving, just staying for a couple of days, and then the announcement came, and then they're already on their way back to other parts of the country where they don't necessarily have a beach, but at least they have some other amenities activities that then keep them busy during the festive season.
And then just very lastly, Daniel, how confident are you that your application will be successful?
Well, I always tell clients, and as an attorney, I think it's my job to tell clients that any application is a 50-50. But in this case, I'm quite optimistic about our 50% odds. But again, we're going to court to leave it in the hands of the court. We trust the judicial system. I believe our courts have really been reasonable in how they approach lockdown litigation during the past 8 months. I think our judiciary is sensible, and I believe sensibility will prevail in this case as well. And again, it's odd sometimes for people to hear this, but I have a fantastic relationship with my colleagues over at the State Attorney's Office, and it really is it's a matter of fighting for interests in an amicable way, and I believe the same will happen here. The only difference is now that we'll be in court over the festive season, which is obviously not as pleasant as it is during the rest of the year. But be that as it may, we have to go to court to ensure that the rights, at least the message of and the plight of these businesses come to light and is in the public eye, so you can realize this is a difficult, complex situation. COVID-19 isn't as simple as either completely locking down or not locking down, and we need to try and find nuanced approaches to, again, save lives and livelihoods.
All right, thanks, Daniel. We'll leave it there. That was Daniel Eloff, a lawyer representing a group of businessmen who are opposing the closure of beaches. While speaking